This is Showtime, Shawn Porter, and you are on from Wise Men to Warrior.
Hey, this is Coach Stokes, and this is
Diesel Stokes.
Hey, and welcome to Wyzemen2Warriorz. Thank you for being here for our 2023 kickoff. Hey, we're doing it big and live this year. This is somebody that's near and dear. He's just not somebody that we look at as, somebody that's a fan base. We look at him as somebody that's family, because first time we met Shawn was back in 2014 or 15 at the Boxing Fan Expo in Las Vegas. And Diesel, it happened to be Diesel's favorite fighter during that time. And so we saw the booth there and we walked up. And just with that being said, I'll let you guys know who it is. He has a boxing record of 31 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 17 KOs. He's originally from Akron, Ohio, but lives and resides in Las Vegas, Nevada. Just let you know some quick facts about this brother. He's an all-conference high school football standout in Akron, Ohio. He compiled an incredible amateur record of 276 wins and 14 losses. He has notable wins in the amateurs against Danny Jacobs, Edwin Rodriguez, Demetrius Andrade, and right now the current WBO heavyweight champion, Alexander Usyk. He won the World Golden Gloves back in 2007, but came up a little short for qualifying for the 2008 Olympic team, but was an Olympic alternate, and he turned pro back in 2008. We have no other but my brother, my man, Diesel's big brother, Showtime Shawn Christian Porter. What's up?
Put the whole government out there like that. Dang.
Yeah, man, what's going on with you?
Oh man, I'm happy to be on the line with y'all. That's it.
Yeah. I said I was gonna go ahead and put that in there because when I saw a Christian, I was like, man, he don't look like a Christian. I'm gonna go ahead and announce that.
No, I'm a Christian. My whole background is Christian, man. I'm extremely spiritual, man. I don't look like a Christian.
No. I'm talking about name, Christian. No, you definitely are a man of God, definitely, without a doubt.
Yes, sir.
So Shawn, thank you for being on the show. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into it, Diesel. So Diesel, what is your first question for Shawn?
Shawn, do you do cryotherapies or ice baths?
I do. Well, I actually consider they're the one and the same. Ice bath is a form of cryotherapy, and so I believe wholeheartedly in cryotherapy. When I would be in camp, I would do cryotherapy twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. After a hard 12-round fight, I get off the plane, I get home, and I'm right in the tub. You know what I mean? That has always been an essential part of training and recovery for me as an athlete. No longer do I do cryotherapy because I'm not fighting no more. So there's that.
You know what, Shawn? The name of our podcast is called From Wise Men to Warrior, because you have that old saying where, wise men are used for counsel and the young men are used for warriors. And you just answered my question. That one of the questions I was going to ask you: do you feel like you are a wise man, or do you feel like you're a warrior?
Definitely both. I think my dad has always been both, but I would say more wiser than a warrior. My dad was blessed with a mind, but grew up having to use his fists. I'll say it like that. And so with that being said, I think that was handed to me practically from birth, given to me from God. An ability to understand wise counsel, pull it, receive it, and utilize it, but also a warrior mentality as well. And I was just telling my wife earlier everything that I'm doing involving my podcast now is just a straight up hustle. And you have to have a hustle mentality, a warrior mentality to survive. And now in the field that I choose to be a professional in, and that is just the media world. The media world, that me not coming from the media world, me not having an educational background in media, I've had to learn everything on the job, which has been great. But I think, again, using my warrior spirit, like I would in the ring, allowed me to come into or be on a live telecast and be that same type of fighter, just fighting a little differently. And then, of course, I definitely have a wise head on my shoulders as well. So,
Shawn, I wanted to say first and foremost, we seen you at the Nationals out in Lubbock, Texas, and you were out there because we don't see very many professionals that come to the Nationals. You see some, but not a lot. And I know you're very involved when it comes to doing things like that, giving back to the community. But one thing I remember the conversation. I don't know if you remember the conversation we had, and we said, yeah, we about to get ready to go get Diesel some work. You said you about to go give him some work. I said, yeah, we about to go give him some sparring. And you said, oh, okay. No, your exact words were, you said, oh. And when you said that, I looked at my wife. I was like, what do you mean, oh? What did you do? And you said to me, you said, you know what? I will ask him, what is it that he would like to do? And when you said that, that put me in a place where, you know what? Because I fought for years and I know what it's like. And I never wanted to be one of those dads. Nothing against them, you do it the way you want to do it. But I never want to be one of them dads where I feel like I rule with an iron fist. And I ask my son every day, "Are you good? This is something that you want to do? We feel good. We hype. We amp. Are you motivated?" And when you said that made me say, you know what? Hey, what is it you want to do? And he was like, I want to take a day off. Fine, not a problem. We're gonna take a day off. But I just want to tell you, brother, thank you for saying that to me because it made me reflect, upon myself. I'm here. This is a way that we can bond together. But most importantly, hey, if this is something he wants to do, I can't want it more than him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, brother, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
I definitely try to give you my perspective and my opinion based on my experience, based on, again, the education and the wisdom that I have now as a grown man. I remember being at tournaments that I did. There wasn't very many tournaments that I lost the first day or the second day. But those tournaments that I lost the first day or the second day, I was all the way. Where the heck was I? Oh, I was in Brazil. I lost the first night in Brazil. I didn't even want to be in Brazil anymore. I wanted to go home and get away from everybody else that was going to be competing and winning. I wanted to get so far away from them and everything that I wasn't going to be able to be a part of. And so I just I was, obviously surprised to hear that he had, dropped it so early in the tournament. But now at this point, how do we get Diesel to fire off on all cylinders the best way that he can? Is it to put him right back in the fire, put him in a different fire, or pull him away from the fire and let him decide when to come back to it? Again, Diesel, how old are you now?
I'm 12. Yep.
12 now. Yeah. So I mean, you're coming into an age now where dad knows that I've given you a lot. There's some decisions you should be able to make on your own. I'm still going to guide you through these decisions, but at 12 years old, if there's a day that you don't want to go to the gym, I tell you exactly what my dad told me. I said, I don't want to box anymore. I was like 9 or 10. Said I didn't want to box anymore. My dad said, why don't you want to box? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I had an answer, but I didn't think he would receive my answer. My dad said, if you don't have a reason why you don't want to box, and you can't stop. And look at me today. My dad guided me through the decision that I was trying to make for myself at 9 or 10 years old. And it proved to be the best thing for me, So I just try to kind of give you what I knew based on my experiences and, looking at Diesel and in the space that he was in the moment, and definitely did not want to step on your toes. And then, like I told you that day, I said, man, I'm here for you at any time you ever want something or need something. I'm at your disposal.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. You've always been, brother. You always been.
So,
What did you remember the most from your losses in the amateurs, from your losses in the amateurs?
man, I remember a lot of heartache. That's for dang sure. I remember being at tournaments that I just, and you guys know how it is at the end of the last day of the tournament, as everybody gets in the ring and they takes their pictures and all that kind of stuff. I hated not being a part of that, man.
That's how it was.
And that, I think, is what kind of kept my fire lit to get back there the next year so that I can be in that ring on championship night, you know. There was definitely a lot of fights that I felt like I didn't lose. Um, I know you mentioned my fight with Alexander Usyk, the fact that I beat a heavyweight when we were younger. We were 20 years old and we were 165 pounds. And even though I won that fight, I know you asked me about my losses, but that's a fight that's really significant to me because it was just one of those nights where everything just kind of came together. We were doing 4 2-minute rounds back then, and it was like round after round was this tug of war where he would win around, I would win around, and it came all the way down to the last round, and it just I had just enough to pull that rope, you know. So that's definitely something that I feel is inspirational for anybody, you know, just keep going. Some fights are going to be a tug of war. Some fights you just going to have. And some fights you're going to be all the way right there, ready to go in the mud, and you just can't stop, you know?
Shawn, was that the fight that you won with the right hand?
Yeah, you heard me talk about that one, huh?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's a true story. The fight, I mean, it was back and forth, and the assistant coach that was in the corner was actually the Olympic coach. It was Dan Campbell. He was the 2008 Olympic coach. Right before I started that round, he tapped he hit the canvas. He said, "Hey, Shawn," he said, "if you line up a right hand, you gonna hit him with it." And somehow, some way, it came together. I hit him with a right hand. He stumbled back a little bit, and y'all know me. I turned into Showtime Shawn Porter and just went after him, and I ended up winning that fight.
Uh,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing. Shawn, my question for you is, um, how old were you when you realized boxing was the sport for you, or that you wanted to go forward with instead of football?
Crazy. Growing up, I always thought that I was gonna be playing football, and then the off season I was gonna box. You get into high school and you kind of see where real life is for you in terms of goals and sports and stuff like that. I didn't completely give up being a football player. And well, let me pull back just a little bit. I think maybe my sophomore year of high school is when I gave up on kind of the I'm going to be in the NFL, and I made my goal to just play collegiate football. I just wanted to be a college athlete, and that was my thing. And it did definitely hurt when I realized that I wasn't going to go to college and be a collegiate athlete. But essentially, I just went to my dad probably spring before I graduated, and I told him I wanted to turn pro. And it was almost like kind of a revelation that I knew that the success I would have in life would just be in boxing. And even though I love football and I love playing it and I had all the fun, that everything that I loved about football, I hated about boxing. You know what I mean? I couldn't wait to go to football practice. I hated going to boxing practice, you know, but it just came down to it. And I just knew that I would end up being exactly where I'm at today from boxing. I don't know how I knew, I just knew. And so we went for it. It's funny because a lot of people, when they find out that I played football in high school, they just automatically assume that I picked up boxing after I stopped playing football. But I boxed and played football from the age of 8, graduated high school and stopped playing football at 18, but just continued on with boxing. So kind of was written in the stars in a lot of ways.
It definitely was.
Yeah.
Who were your favorite fighters when you were competing? We were competing.
When I was a kid, Marvin Hagler was my guy. I just loved that marvelous Marvin Hagler. I just loved the name, and it kind of grew from there. I was kind of attracted to him because of his name, but then it just something about the way he boxed, even as a kid. Like I understood what he was, and he just kind of was it for me. As I got older, people started saying that I look like Shane Mosley and I box like Shane Mosley, so I started watching him, and I'm like, man, this dude got some pop and you got some speed. Ain't nobody else out there like him, you know. So Sugar Shane was my guy. Miguel Cotto, tenacious boxer, you know what I mean? Roy Jones Jr. Everybody wants to be flashy and entertaining like Roy Jones. If you don't, then you don't know boxing. You know what I mean? So kind of the bigger names was who I watched. I didn't watch anybody that went under the radar. Of course, I watched all of the top amateurs. I could probably rattle off 15 amateurs that I watched that you guys probably never heard of. But as a pro, those were I watched the bigger names as a pro.
Well, you know what, Sean? I'm gonna tell you this right now. When I was boxing and during that time, your dad can even tell you, you had certain regions of the country where it's like if you pull them, you drew them, you knew you was gonna be in a fight. Ohio definitely has always been a
Yeah,
boxing type of state. New
yeah,
York, California, Texas. But then you get some guys, some surprises. So you might get somebody from the Rocky Mountains that you ain't never heard of, and
yeah,
he be tough.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So Ohio definitely is, you guys always could thump over there, always,
yeah.
turn out, good product. Sean, I want to ask you this. What do you feel is the most important thing a parent that is training their child should do when it comes to preparing for high level amateur competition?
Man, I'm 35 now, so the first answer that jumped out to me was understanding. I think that there always has to be a level of understanding between a parent and his or hers athlete slash son or daughter. I think the understanding is because as you both are going to grow, um, and you both are going to learn from one another. Yes, please. Yes, please. And if the parent is just always wanting to be the demanding, controlling parent and never learn or understand, then the parent isn't going to grow and excel. So it always has to be this give and take between the athlete and the parent. But that's the advice I would give the parent. I would let the parent know that, hey, even though you're older, you're wiser, you've been through it all, still understand that you don't think as a child the way that the child doesn't think as an adult. And that's what I find myself doing with my boys all the time. They scream and they yell and they jump around and they have all this energy and fun. All the while, I'm so much more mature than them. In my mind, you don't have to screaming. You don't have to yell. Do it without all that. Do it without. And then I just remind myself they're kids. Like, let them have fun the way kids have fun. So I think it's the same thing in the boxing world or athletics in general. You still have to let kids be kids, and you have to at some point try to understand as a child opposed to always understanding as the adult.
That's funny you said that. I was talking to a friend of mine exactly the other day, and he was saying he has two twin boys, and I was like, man, how are they? He said, man, one is sneaky and the other one's up front. They got me all over the place, and Diesel is my youngest son, and Diesel is the one where Sean, I tell everybody, I got fixed after Diesel. If Diesel would have been the first one, then I don't know if I would have had it anymore because he got me on my P's and Q's all the time. But with
Yeah.
that being said, my boy said this. He said, "You got to remember, that's you. So everything that they doing, you did." And I had to
Mhm.
sit back and realize, like, wow, you're right. Everything he's doing came out of me, came out of his mom. So
I'm
those be
35 now, man. And my dad's been telling me that since I was maybe like right as I turned pro. He would tell me that he lived the life I've lived and he knows everything that I'm gonna do. And as a young adult, I didn't believe any of it. I literally fought against it. And now having a 4-year-old and the 2-year-old, I know when I can go in the room and the 4-year-old's not expecting me to be there. All the while also that I can say, Daddy always is always watching. Daddy knows what you're doing, and as he gets older, I'm gonna mimic that. I've lived your life, maybe not at the same capacity that you've lived it, but I know a lot of the moves you're gonna make because I made those moves already, you know. And my dad tells me, you know, so you're right.
Good. But
When I first saw you fight against Adrian Brunner and he dropped you and you made that look.
Dang, why you say he dropped you like that? Like it was a devastating punch. And you got knocked. Say you got knocked down. Say you got knocked down. That
Got
sounds
knocked
better.
down. My bad. My bad.
Yeah, dang, you just hurt my soul. I'm like,
You made that
it
look.
was
he
a quick.
dropped you. Like, dang, these are dang, hurt me.
What were you thinking about at that time?
Listen, man, I'm gonna give y'all the long, the long short. In the corner, my dad was telling me to go after him and close the show. And I'm thinking to myself, I done fought hard for 11 rounds. I don't have to go after him. I didn't say it to my dad, but I was thinking it. You know what I mean? So when that round starts, I'm caught up between do what my dad told me to do or do what I want to do. And I literally was in the daze. He threw the punch. I saw the punch coming and reacted to it late because of my thoughts were just overriding my physical. In that point in time, I got dropped. See, now I'm saying it. I got knocked down. I got knocked down. And I remember when I got up, I just looked at my dad, and this is my thought. My thought was, did you see that?
Yeah.
That was my thought. My thought was, did you see that? And my dad was yelling. My dad was, you got it. And I'm like, it's cool. I got it. Ain't no thing, you know. I wasn't buzzed or anything like that at all. And it was just one of those moments that, like we always say in boxing, you can't fall asleep in the ring. And it wasn't that I necessarily was asleep or taking him lightly. I just was literally caught up in my own thoughts at that point in time when he landed that punch. And it's funny because the blessing in that is there's another narrative that goes with that fight, and not just Shawn dominated Adrian Bronner for 12 rounds. There's also the narrative that Shawn Porter got knocked down, aka dropped. There's a narrative that Shawn could have lost the fight, or whatever the case may be. And it's like, even in a fight where I completely had the fight, there was this added suspense slash entertainment that people are always looking for when they look for when they watch boxing. And so I don't know, man. It's like I always crossed every T and dotted every I.
Yep.
Even while getting dropped.
It was a flash knockdown. It was a flash knockdown.
Flash.
Flash knockdown.
Yeah, flash.
Shawn, I love the blueprint of you and your dad. Everything that you guys do. We're biting, as we say during my era. We're biting the moves. We're taking everything. I talk to your dad a lot. I want to know, how did your dad motivate you as a coach?
My dad motivated me simply by not ever allowing me to quit or give up or anything like that at all. I think my dad had this understanding about life, and he gave this to myself and my brothers when we were really young. He would tell us that boxing is just like life. Anything you go through in the ring, you're gonna go through in real life. And so it was like my dad unconsciously was always integrating life and boxing. And so it was like anything he wouldn't accept or allow outside of the ring, it was like now he was bringing that and integrating it. And there was things he just wouldn't accept or allow while I was in the ring either, you know. So he motivated me by never allowing me to have anything less than the best, you know. And again, that's what I do with my boys now. I look at Shaddai, I tell them, you're a porter. Porters are great, you know, have a great day, you know, and we play off of that the Porter way, you know. So
what are the things you wish you could do over again in boxing if you had a second chance?
I really, really wanted to be an Olympian. I wanted to fight for a medal. And I do believe that had I been the representative for the '08 team, I would have come back with a medal. that's one of the things for me. I always kind of get caught up with that. But as a pro, you know, you would think that I would want to change any of my losses to wins or my draw to a win or something like that. But I really just I have no complaints about the way that my professional career went. Even to the fights that were so close that I could have won them, you know. The way I look at it, I live a normal life or as close to a normal life as possible for a former professional athlete. There still are a lot of people that recognize me and know me, but I'm not Mayweather, man. I get to walk. I could go down to the strip right now and walk down the street and probably not get noticed at all. And if I do get noticed, nobody's gonna, you know, hold me up or anything like that. You know, I have a normal life. You know, I'm not LeBron James where I can't drive for myself or do things for myself. You know, so I think that my career went the way it was supposed to go. And you know, to this point now, as a retired professional boxer, I'm very happy and still looking forward to what God has for me in the future.
Yeah.
Shawn, I have a question for you. You've been there, you've been through it. I've been there, been through it. But Diesel is 12. He's gonna be 13 in November. So you know puberty is gonna be coming to effect, and also he's gonna be getting ready to go to high school in a few years.
Here you go.
How did high school affect your goals in boxing?
It didn't. High school never affected my goals in boxing, and my dad kind of learned from what he had seen. My dad knew a couple. I'm not gonna say several. He knew a couple of boxers that didn't graduate because they were spending their time traveling with world teams and fighting on different international teams and stuff like that as a fighter. And my dad was like, "You're not going to miss school. If you do miss school, you're gonna take your schoolwork with you. If you don't take it with you, you're gonna get it when you get home." You know, so my dad never allowed boxing to get in the way of my education.
Good.
You hear that, Diesel? It
Yeah.
ain't getting in the way, all right?
Nope.
Don't think you're gonna be missing school. Don't think you're gonna be missing school, man.
Shawn, he's homeschooled, so he can't run from it. And if you know his mom don't play that
She don't
anyways.
play that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Why won't you let anybody put oh, hold on, my bad. Why won't you let anyone but your father put on your gloves?
Another story right there. My dad is you know, he gave us rules growing up, and there were several rules, even rules that as a professional I did not let go of. My dad had a rule when we were little, we weren't allowed to spar if he wasn't there. I mean, I started boxing when I was 5 years old. I'm sparring by the time I'm 6, and he created this rule when I was a kid. And even as an adult, I would call my dad up, "Hey, such and such wants to spar. Are you coming to the gym today? What do you want me to do?" Even as an adult, you know what I mean? So there were a lot of things that my dad didn't go for. And tying my gloves was one of those things too. He was always the one that tied my gloves. So I would always look to my dad, and if he wanted somebody else to help, you're right there to help. If he was the one doing it, then he was the one doing it. We'll fast forward just to close this out right quick. When I became a pro, I couldn't fit an 8-ounce glove because my hand is big, and then on top of that, with the wrap and everything, it was hard for me to get my hands in my gloves. Our cut man, he knew some type of way to hold this glove, and my hand would just slide right in there perfectly. And near the end of my career, I would tell my dad, I said, "Dad, we're gonna let Hal do it." Remember, my dad's the only one that puts my gloves on and ties them up. And I told my dad, I said, "We're gonna let Hal put it on. You're gonna still tie it, but we're gonna let Hal put it on." And Hal would get in there, it would go shoot. And then I give it to my dad, and he would tie it up. You know what I mean? So we definitely near the end of the career, we became more of a team, and the camaraderie amongst us all was fantastic.
Yes.
Shawn, I'm gonna revisit. me seeing you, us seeing you back in Lubbock, Texas. And matter of fact, back in 2019, we saw you in Dallas, Texas at the Battle in the Big D when you were getting ready to fight Errol Spence.
Right.
I don't see many pros, like I said before, that come to amateur boxing events, but I'm sure there are others. Why is it important to you to make sure that your face is seen at those amateur boxing events, sir?
Dallas was kind of coincidental. We had come out in that summer for a professional event, and they said it was boxing down the street. And I believe we walked right down the street just to see what was going on, how big it was, and it ended up being really big. And of course, we ran into y'all while we were there. But since then, I've created the ABC platform, abchamps.com. It is a amateur platform, or it's a platform built for the amateur boxers, just a way to help expose the elite amateur fighters that are going to be turning pro. And my hope is in the next, everything I do moves fast. You know what I mean? I do try to plan accordingly and take my time and patience and all that. But I expect in the next three years, by this next Olympic Games, even though boxing is teetering with being in the Olympic Games right now, I expect AB Champs to be kind of the front runner in terms of trying to get, or where these people go to watch what's coming next into the pro ranks and what's going to be at the Olympic Games as well.
You say abchamps.com?
abchamps.com. Yes, sir. It is specifically for the elite division, but I would like to get it to a point where the elite division is just moving smoothly, and we can try to put some focus on some of the elite young youth out there as well. So, but at the moment, it is definitely solely with the purpose to show people what's going to be next in the pro ranks and the immediate next.
Yes, sir.
If your sons grow up and want to box, will you train them?
Yeah, ain't nobody training my sons but me. I definitely would. Obviously, I would let my dad jump in where he fits in, and if my dad wanted to do it 100%, I definitely would entertain that conversation with my dad. But I think between my experience, my knowledge, and the list goes on, I know that I have what it takes to coach my boys. I have a heart to help, and that extends into teaching and coaching, which I'm doing as well. I'm certified to do life coaching, so they all kind of revolve around one another, in my opinion.
Shawn, before we wrap up, got a couple more questions, but I do want to ask you this because I know a lot of dads who are training their sons, their daughters as well, but they really want me to ask this question. What is your advice to those parents and their children who want to go pro?
Take your time. The pro game is all about patience. It's about having the right fights at the right point in time, in the right location, so that the right people see you, and you get even, you grow your fan base as well as an athlete. And there's just really there's no book, there's no guideline on terms of how to move yourself as a professional athlete and what steps to take. There really is no blueprint on it. Everybody has their own path, just like in life, so. But the one thing we know in life is patience usually proves itself to be fruitful. The same thing in the pro ranks, man. Be patient. Don't sign just anything because it's the first thing that came your way, or because it came your way from one specific individual. Take your time, be patient, and get multiple people to look at those contracts, because if you don't, you will be in for a rude awakening 9 times out of 10 when you sign a contract and you haven't made any addendums to the contract, or you haven't had anyone help you with that contract. Is usually you'll be heartbroken at some point in time. Take your time.
Showtime, before we conclude, one more thing before we get off. We always do this, but we have a shadow box. We have a sparring session, virtual sparring session between the person we're interviewing and Diesel. So with that being said, get ready, put your hands up. It's
I'm
only
ready.
15 seconds. 15 seconds. That's
I'm
it.
ready.
You ready? Oh, all
Ready,
right.
baby. I'm ready. And we gonna do this in person because now we done did it on the cyber side. So here we go.
Ready? Ding, ding, work time. Let's go.
I ain't sparred in a minute too. Get
Get them D's. Get them D's.
marked all that. Marked all that.
4, 3, 2, 1. Time. Ding, ding. Good work. Good work. Good work.
I can knock you out on the cyber, man. I can't knock you out in person.
Yeah.
So I tried my best to knock you out over here.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, Mr. Porter. Hey, could you let everyone know about your podcast? How we can catch your podcast, the time,
Absolutely.
and your social media handles.
This is 2023. We started the podcast in 2020. It is called The Porter Way. It's on YouTube, all of the podcasting platforms out there. And the purpose of my podcast now is to cross over and get people that don't know about this sport to become more engaging in this sport. It is a very unique and special sport. I actually had to learn that from not doing it, but from being around people who love this sport that I didn't know love this sport. And what I'm talking about is NBA players, actors, comedians, the who's of the world love this sport. And while we're all watching them, wishing we were on the field or on the court, them guys can't wait to get off the court so that they can watch boxing. Them guys can't wait to get off the stage from doing stand-up so that they can watch boxing. I never knew that, so I have the ability to reach out to these people and get the people that follow them to hopefully start following boxing. I think that that's how you grow the sport. So that's my way of contributing and giving back to the sport of boxing, is just trying to help it become more fruitful and more alive now than ever, So that's the podcast, and abchamps.com. If you guys go to that website, you'll see some of the elite amateurs on there right now, and we're doing the best we can to get highlight reels and in-depth interviews the same way you see on Showtime or Fox before we fight on fight night, all that stuff. I'm bringing the professional I'm bringing a professional feel to the amateur level, you know what I mean, and just trying to enhance amateur boxing as well, which I think info will turn and help enhance professional boxing too. So that's it, man. I'm just working and doing the best I can.
You're doing it, brother. You're doing it. We appreciate you. You have any more questions you want to ask, big brother?
Thank you. Yep.
I'm trying to. I when we turned on, man, I was like, man, I'm gonna make sure I ask him some questions. Biggest goal in boxing for you, Diesel?
Biggest goal. To get the gold. To get the gold, go for the gold.
Going for the gold, huh? So you want to be on the Olympic team?
Yes.
And collectively, you guys have to have. So I'm talking directly to you, Diesel. You have to have your goals, and then your team has to understand your goals, and everybody has to move and operate so that you can get to your goals. For you, it's going to be sometimes it's going to be a selfish mindset on your behalf, because you're going to have to block out friends. Sometimes you're going to have to block out family. Sometimes you're going to have to block out maybe a job or a career or activity that you may want to do, because it's going to stop you from achieving your goal. And in order to achieve your goal, this is what I learned, is you have to have a sense of selfishness. You have to have a sense that no one or no thing can come between me and what I want for my life and what I know God has in store for me. God doesn't want us to be selfish, but we as human beings, if we aren't selfish, people may try to engage us a little more than they need to or should. Things may become a little more attractive than they should be, so even at this young age, man, understand that sometimes you're gonna have to be selfish. In this sport, this is a selfish sport. That's why it's one-on-one. and you have to be selfish against the guy across from you. And in order to get in the ring and be successful against that guy, you're gonna have to be successful. You have to be selfish before you get there. So don't be afraid to do what you got to do, man, to achieve that goal. And I'm right here with you the whole way. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's literally watched you grow up, man. He's literally watched you grow.
Literally. When I sat down and I turned it on and y'all was having y'all little conversation, I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, this kid couldn't talk. And not that you just couldn't converse, like you couldn't put, you couldn't do it. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy to see you now, man, and keep your head up. I know you definitely didn't want to see me in Lubbock and see you as not the winner of the tournament, but it's all right, man. It's a part of the process. You're gonna drop so many of them. Your goal at this point should be to go to so many of them that you win more than you drop, but you're gonna drop them, man. And the main thing is when you drop them, just continue to grow, mature, and learn, and that's it, man. And be the best human that you can be. That's the bottom line, man.
Thank you,
everybody. Thank you for chiming in on this episode of From Wyzemen2Warriorz. I'm Coach Stokes. This is
Diesel Stokes.
And we had a great podcast with two-time welterweight world champion Showtime Shawn Porter. Shawn, I appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
See y'all later.